Hi everyone. It's been a long day. It's been hot and we're ready for happy hour. But Lee and I have been having an ongoing discussion. He doesn't think it's a good idea to be living on the boat at the same time that you're trying to work on it, especially while he's doing his rewiring. And I'm of the opinion that it's not a big deal.
When I'm getting ready to rewire, I take things apart and get tools out. And it may take me an hour to get things out and ready to work on it. Then I maybe work on it 2 or 3 hours and it's time to put things back together again. Then I spend another hour putting it back together. And then next day I have to do the same thing all over again. And it feels like a waste of time.
And for me, it's not a big deal. Take things out, put it back. I like to try and keep things neat, and that's another difference. But my big argument in favor of living on the boat is you don't have a commute time. You can work as late as you want. You can work as early as you want. You can work whenever you want. It is indeed a challenge to live on board the boat while making major upgrades or repairs. We know of someone here in Guaymas who is living in an apartment while she is working on her boat. We elected to live on our boat and have had to find ways to adapt to the heat and living in controlled chaos. I have become accustomed to having a cluttered cabin, and Lee has cooperated by keeping some items stored in lockers. The lazarette and quarter berth have been emptied, and large tools and sails are once again stored on pallets outside the boat. Lee embarked on his rewiring project in earnest. So what are you doing, Lee?
Yeah, just checking out the different wiring and seeing what I have to change and see what wires I have to change, where I'm going to start. I'm not quite sure where I want to start. So I'm kind of mapping it out. I'll be drawing it up and trying to decide what's first to be changed.
He began by tracing, documenting, and labeling all the primary wiring. He did find several wires no longer in use that had been disconnected or simply cut and left in place. It gave him a lot of pleasure to pull the unused wiring. Some of the examples of faulty wiring Lee found were cracked cables and cables not specifically labeled oil resistant in the engine compartment, crimps with excessive bare copper with no shrink tubing, and instead of a red cable, he found a black cracked cable used as a positive feed from the battery selector switch. The wiring project will be ongoing. So far, Lee has replaced the cables between the battery and starter and the ground to the engine block. One of my projects was to make bottom cushion slip covers to replace the slip cover sheet that came with the boat. I bought the cheap lightweight towels that Target advertises as fast drying, and towels specifically because I thought it would be comfortable to sit on in hot, sweaty weather. I began by sewing on an additional piece to make the towel large enough to fit around the cushion. Then I cut the towel to shape, sewed the seams, and added elastic for a tight fit. I chose a color that would coordinate with the back cushion slipcovers and wouldn't show blondie hairs too much. It was my first foray into making slipcovers, and we are all pleased with the results. I began working on the teak deck earlier this week, removing cleats and a track. Since it's the wet season, I am doing a small portion of the deck at a time. After a week of having threatening weather forecasts not materialize, and with a benign forecast yesterday, I took the plunge and removed the caulking from the seams for what I guessed would be about a tube's worth of caulking. Wouldn't you know it, an unforecasted thunderstorm struck in the early evening, and even though I covered the deck with plastic, there was seepage, and I will have to wait for the deck to dry out. Now I have time for working on a video. We will be on the hard for the remainder of the hurricane season, and to be as comfortable as possible, we purchased a portable air conditioner. We have as yet to figure out a satisfactory way to duct the exhaust out the port, and we have to remove the ducting whenever it rains. The air conditioner does make a difference, and we do what we can to keep the cold air inside. The cabin temperature rises to the high 80s in the late afternoon as the sun bakes on the hull, but better than the previous low hundreds, and most importantly, we sleep comfortably at night. On our weekend trip to Phoenix, we enjoyed a birthday party and visiting with our friends. Additionally, we picked up packages of supplies we had delivered to their home. It was a brief interlude away from the yard. As we traveled north, we marveled at how green the Sonoran Desert had become. Between Hermosillo and the border, it was hard to believe we were still in the desert. As we have seen here in Guaymas, desert plants are so well adapted that it is just a matter of days after a heavy rainfall that everything is green. In our next video, Lee will go into greater detail about his wiring project. So until then,